facilities. This could be social media.
Hello everyone. Sorry, we were setting the YouTube live stream and it's live now. And first of all, good morning and good afternoon. And please rename your name with the last 3 digits of your paper ID. You can see the paper ID and the program schedule. And you can write your first name plus the last 3 digits of your paper ID that we can recognize you as present here in Zoom. Thank you. You can click here on the 3 dots and then you can rename yourself and just write the last 3 digits of your paper ID together with your first name. Yeah. Yeah, many of you already did it. Nathan Polly 394. I can see that in 386. Please, together with your name, paper ID 386. You can write your first name or last name plus the paper ID. Please rename. Yeah. Farooq 389. Good. 386. Yu Xinjiang 382. Good. 390. And Reza Destin. Can you please rename with the paper ID? Are you a listener?
I am the presenter.
No, I mean the another participant's name. Yeah. Okay, thank you. 371. Good. Okay, good. All are done. And we can continue to the session. Just wait a minute. Yeah. Okay, good. All are done with the renaming, and welcome all to the International Conference on Economic Business, Tourism and Social Sciences, organized by International Institute of Academic Research and Publication, known as IIARP. I'm Dr. Shakir and the coordinator for this conference. I hope all the participants already got the program schedule and other instructions for this online session. And it is to be noted that each presentation will have 10 minutes and extra 5 minutes for questions and answer session for each participants. And those who already sent the presentations in the recording form, they do not need to play it here live on Zoom. We will basically upload all those presentations to our YouTube channel, and the link will be shared later on in the chat box. Okay. And those participants who are needed by their universities to play the video live, they can come to play it here on the screen. I welcome our respected session chair, Professor Dr. Madad Ali from Chujing Normal University, Yunnan, China. Professor Madad Ali will have the role to assess and evaluate every live presentation, and on the basis of that assessment, the best presenter will get an award in the form of certificates. How to assess? There is specific criteria, and the criteria include, but it's not limited to the points such as the best contents from the paper, good presentation skills, time management skills, the attraction of the audience, good impression on the audiences, and many more other things can be considered for this kind of evaluation. So I hope you all will enjoy this session with us. And without wasting the time, we have to start the session. But before this, I think it's quite necessary to introduce you with our organization, IIARP. And for this purpose, I will share my screen. Let me open my PPT. Yeah, this is the PPT. Just wait a minute. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So this is International Institute of Academic Research and Publication, IIARP, based in India. IIARP is basically a conglomeration of academia and professionals for the promotion of research and innovation, which aim to create a global footprint. And IIARP also aim to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals to encourage intellectual development and providing opportunities for networking and collaboration. This association, this organization is actively involved in academic networking, meetings, conferences, workshop, projects, research publications, academic awards, scholarships, and many more activities. This is about IIARP. Our main objective is to attract researchers from different fields to share their knowledge and scientific breakthroughs to a wide audience under one roof. Under one roof mean both in person as well as online events, conferences, workshops, and many more academic activities. We deeply believe that sharing information and staying up to date is the key toward success. And these such kind of activities, academic activities, we can share all those information with each other to learn from each other and promote the innovation in the field of research. And it is also important networking. Sometimes we lose time looking for the solutions that others have already found it. So we can share all those solutions with each other in order to minimize the efforts and energies on research and innovations. So basically what we do, IIARP, we are involved in facilitating world-class networking for the researchers and scholars, organizing international as well as national conferences, and involved in facilitating in terms of publication in international journals, in other publishing platforms. IIARP is well known for organizing scientific and academic international conferences in East Asia, such as Malaysia, Thailand, Japan, Indonesia, India, Singapore, UAE, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Bangladesh, Nepal, Russia, Egypt, Nigeria, USA, and many more other different countries in top cities in the world, around the world. These are our associates, that is PhD cluster. Our media partner is Conference L360, and our publication are most often supported by F1000 research. Later on, I will explain and introduce F1000 research. So there are opportunities for the participants and publication opportunities. In addition to the conference proceedings, the authors or the researchers can publish their extended abstract, e-posters, presentation slides with the DOI. And you can opt for publishing your papers, a manuscript with the DOI indexed by a Google Scholar journal. And basically all the accepted and registered full papers will be published in multidisciplinary Scopus Index journal. And we strongly recommend to the participant to opt for publishing their manuscripts in F1000 research. We have an established gateway on F1000 research website that is a Scopus Q1 journal, and published papers is open access, and the overall process is author-oriented, not as editor or journal-oriented process. This is our gateway, IIARP gateway, publication gateway on the website of F1000 Research. It is an open research publication hub, which is dedicated to publishing research rapidly and in a transparent manner. What is that? How it works? F1000 Research basically provide a platform to publish all forms of research in physical, in life sciences, engineering, medicine, business, economic, management, social sciences, humanities. That's range from research article to software tools article, method articles, as well as many other formats, including posters and lecture slides or lecture notes. It means that it's a multidisciplinary Scopus Index Q1 journal. What are the benefits for the researchers? As I mentioned, is open access, author-oriented journal. It enables authors, not editors, to decide what they wish to publish. Authors are basically authorized to suggest peer reviewers and control the whole process. This is the model, how it works. You can submit your paper here, and then the associated data, such as the data set and the SPSS interview schedule or questionnaire or other data set of the paper, can be submitted or published in a research repository. And then when all these things are done, your paper is assessed by the editors in F1000 Research. And if it's even after it is corrected, then the peer review can be like the authors are invited to suggest 5 reviewers, and from the 5 reviewers, 2 reviewers will be invited to review the papers. And after the revision is done, the article is revised, it will be again submitted for the publication as a revised manuscript, revised version. And after that, it will be indexed in Scopus as Q1. This very author-oriented, easy, and transparent process for publication. These are some of the examples of how we publish and where we publish our participants' researchers' paper. These are just few examples. Otherwise, we publish dozens of papers each month for our participants. These are some of the highlights of our previous in-person conferences, and you can visit our website, www.iiarp.org, for other highlights and other information on our website. So that's all. Thank you so much. I hope you learned something about IIARP. And now I will invite our session chair, Professor Madadali, my colleague, that he can have starting remarks and we can proceed to the session. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all can hear me clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Before we start, I should welcome all of you for IIARP conference, and I really appreciate your presentations here. Now, before we start, I should introduce myself first. Okay, this is Professor Mike Ali from Chujing Normal University, China. My major is management. I'm recently doing job in China as a professor. So today I will chair this conference with you people. So before we start, I should mention how we will do this job together. So I should mention the paper ID and the title with the name of the author. And each of you will have time, which already mentioned by the conference committee by Dr. Shafirullah. So in the end of if you people have any questions, in the end of the session, you people have an extra time to ask questions from the presenter or the chairperson or the conference committee. Now, I think it's time to start. So the first thing is the first paper, which I can see in my page, is like 371 ID. And the paper title is The Development of Learning Media Based on the Comic Themen, Belazer, whatever it is a means of reading, understanding in class 7. Okay. The presenter is Angum. I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong because it's in local language. It's hard for me, so accept my apologies for that. So Rosa Distin. Thank you.
Paper ID 371. Are you available?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yeah,
please share your screen.
Okay, wait. Anyone can see my presentation?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. The Honorable or Comment of International Conference on Economic Tourism and Social Science, which I respect all participants in this conference. Thank you for giving me opportunity to make a presentation. In terms of me, I'm Descriptive. I'm from Indonesia, and I'm a student in postgraduate program in University Muhammadiyah Purwokerto. I will present about the development of learning media based on atomic culture French learning as a means of reading understanding in class for students who This is my abstract. The reading comprehension is the main key in knowing and understanding the contents of reading. The actual fact that the reading comprehension for school students is still not applicable. Therefore, the research of the based learning media, the study aims to determine the economic effects of learning of the media as a means of reading comprehension. Two, knowing the feasibility of developing the effects of learning of the comic media according to our expert and design method. Knowing the response of teachers and students in the use of comic effects of learning of the media. This research is a research and development. Research using a rich and model is input planning, production, evaluation. This period research was carried out under this reason and public school
Mr. Organ, you are not clear. Your voice is not clear. I don't know whether it's an internet problem or your system problem. I don't know.
Okay, in this presentation.
Yeah, I think it's okay now.
Okay. In this presentation, I limit some problems. The first, I want to give a person about the literacy in Indonesia. Indonesia is a country with the largest population in the world, but support total literacy, it means literacy in Indonesia is very low. This is evidenced by several studies conducted by several organizations. Other than the low literacy, the teacher's learning process is also still lagging. This is because the media used by teacher is still rare and the availability of media is still small. So the children who should be enthusiastic in class become sleepy and often play with their friends. And after using the comic, I will explain the feasibility of comics that have been researched in school. The second point is knowing the responses of teachers and students. To know the response of teachers and students, we use the response procedure. That was distributed after the research activity was carried out. And the third, conclude the presentation that was presented earlier. Education is important thing in effort to propose a nation. Education in school can be interpreted as a process of interaction involving school residents, especially students and teachers, to create a learning process that a parallel process reactor. In Indonesia, in 2015, Indonesia ranked 62 from 70 countries about the literacy ranking. I get this data from Global International Student Assessment. And then in 2016, research from literacy conducted by Central Technical State University and World was literate nation in 2016. Explain that Indonesia is ranking 60 out of 61 about the country of post. Support the reading comprehension.
I don't know. Sorry for disturbance. Yes. I don't know what happened to your voice. It's not clear whether it's an internet problem or your computer system problem. Can you please fix it?
Okay, I will to change with another microphone. Okay. It's clear, sir?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay. Supposed to support reading comprehension, teachers today are equipped with 21st century learning. 21st century learning is learning that integrates literacy skill, knowing skill, and attitude skills, and mastery of technology. This learning embraces the forces, including the first is critical thinking. Critical thinking is finding solution to problems. And the second is creativity, thinking outside the box. And the third, collaboration, working with others. And the last is communication, or conveying ideas. In this literature review, content in this study is learning media, which discuss the benefit of learning media function, characteristic of learning media. Then the research and development literature, I use Ritchie and Klein literature, and the comic literature is explain about the design element in comic criteria, and the advantage of the comic media. And the last is reading comprehension. Reading comprehension, I explained about the reading comprehension ability is characteristic, and then the reading comprehension levels, purpose of reading comprehension, and aspect of reading comprehension. In this research, I use method research and development using model Rishi and Glenn. Rishi and Glenn, in Rishi and Glenn, they explain about three methods. The first is planning, and the planning means the activity of making product plans to be made for a particular purpose. For the first is potential and problems. In the identification stage of potential and problems is carried out by means of direct observation and interview with a student, teacher, and headmaster. And second is production. Production is the activity of making product based on the design that has been made. Inside the production, there are many things. There are one, production, product design. The result of the study literature and field studies on exciting product are then used to make friends of learning or teman belajar comic media as a means of reading student. Understanding preparation began with reviewing the material in detail, including the syllabus, competency standard, basic competence, and indicators.
Sorry,
And the-
sorry for disturbance. You have 2 minutes more, so please be conclusive. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. In this discussion, I use data source with student, teachers, document data, and field notes. And in data collection, I use the interview, observation in the class, and questionnaire for student, validator. The validator is master of language and master of material. And last is for response teachers. I use this questionnaire to teachers. This is the validation. Validation, I use media validator based on assessment. That's table. It's it has been developed. It has a average value of 4. And the language validator based off the assessment tables in the bar chart image, the assessment by linguistic of the comic friends of learning media has been developed an average score of 4.53 and declared suitable for use in classroom learning process. And this respond teachers. And the last is students respond. In student respond, I got as the score 3.78 with the very good criteria. The conclusion, the use of appropriate media is able to make the objective of learning in according with what has been planned. The comic friend of learning or teman belajar developed can be used during the learning process as a means of reading comprehension. The limitation of learning media affect the ability to read comprehension. Low reading comprehension skill can make students get less marks. And the C and C also, there is no face-to-face interaction between the researcher and the student. It's hope the collaboration between the researcher, teacher, and student in study can make friends teman belajar, friends of learning or teman belajar, comic as a medium in the next process. The result of the study are used in input for teacher and prospective teacher as a motivation to improve the learning process that has been carried out so that the situation in learning process becomes active and teacher is able to deliver the material according the objective. And the last is dissemination of this comic friends of learning or teman belajar is carried out online to student. It aims as a means of reading for student. The comic phrase of learning is also disseminated to school. It is useful for teachers to see the media as means of reading comprehension. This is the appendix. Thank you. The end of presentation. For the ability to me, I say thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your research, and the other participants, if they have any question or suggestion for this presenter, can come to the Q&A session at the end of the session, and we will have a discussion for that. Thank you so much. Professor Mike, please go ahead with the next one. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your presentation. It was very knowledgeable. Now we are ready to invite our next presenter, whose paper ID is 373. Understanding how perceived descriptive social norms influence willingness to pay in the context of green hotels. The presenter name is Xiao Huai Chen. Thank you. If you're available, please start your presentation.
373, Professor Mike, 373 is a video presentation, so we can skip it and move ahead, please. Thank you.
Okay, so now we are going to invite our next presenter, whose paper ID is 376. The smartness and gamifications in a contemporary society. Okay, the presenter name is Leria Lunuzzi. Okay, if you're available, please start your presentation. Thank you.
I think, as per my information, it's also a video presentation, so we can skip to move ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your cooperation. So now we are going to move to the next paper. The next presenter is, paper ID is 380. The polite empathetic technology in sensitive writing applications as a way of assisting underachieving students. Sorry. The presenter is Dr. Andreza Akan. Thank you. If you're available, please start your presentation.
Yeah, 380 is also video presentation. Please go ahead with the next one. Thank you.
Okay, our next presenter, paper ID is 382. Development of reading teaching material based on the Provincial District in improving reading comprehension. The presenter name is Anjani. If she's available, please, sorry, she can go for the presentation. Thank you.
380, 382. Yeah, please share your screen.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I will share screen. Okay, good morning. I would like to say thank you for coming my presentation. It's been to see you all. I hope you are in a good condition and stay healthy. Okay, my friend, let me introduce myself. My name is Androgical Principles and I'm from Purworejo, Central Java, Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to talk about.
Can you please be a little bit louder?
Yes, sir.
My hair is gone.
Speaker number 1, Regulation of the Ministry of Education and Culture number 57 of 2014. The curriculum applied in elementary school in the 2013 curriculum. The implementation of learning in the 2013 curriculum used an integrated thematic learning approach. Number 2, learning activities in terms of reading only use national-based teaching material with limited local material. According to Kurniasi, teaching materials are all forms of material used to assist teacher or instructor in carrying out teaching and learning activities in the classroom. Number 3, students do not understand the material or notional-based teaching material. According to Sumajayo, reading is an interactive activity to pick and understand the meaning or meaning contained in the written material. Number 4, the result of learning Indonesian subject there are 20 students from 32 students who have not reached the KKM. The problem is plotted by data on student learning outcome in Indonesian language learning by Clean Air for Health. There is a very low knowledge assessment result, namely 20 students from 32 fifth grade students who achieved 40 during the KKM. Okay, my friend, in this research method section, the type of method in this research is the type of research and development method. According to Sugiono, research and development methods are research methods used to produce certain product and test the effectiveness of the product. As for the data research, number 1 is student. Data from student was obtained with observation. Number 2, teacher. Data from teacher were obtained from interview with teacher as well as teacher activities during learning from direct observation. Number 3, the document data. Document data in the form of photos of observation of learning activities and data on student learning outcome, namely student test score. Number 4, field note. Source of data from field notes were obtained when observed the learning process. Next, and then the data collection technique. Number 1 is test. The test instrument in this study was used to determine the level of study's cognitive abilities. Number 2, documentation. The documentation used in this research is in the form of student score data, photo of classroom, and during the learning process. Number 3, observation. Observation activities carried out during the learning process with virtual district-based reading teaching material took place using student activity observation sheet. Number 4, interview. Research used unstructured interview technique, namely pre-interview where research did not use interview questions. Number 5, questionnaire. Research gave questionnaire to teacher and student to respond to the use of local-based teaching materials. Data analysis technique. Number 1, analysis of teacher and student responses. Number 2, preliminary data analysis. Normality test. The normality test is carried out as a prerequisite for conducting data analysis. Number 3, final data analysis. The difference hypothesis test or t-test was conducted to test the difference in student learning outcome from experimental and control tests who had been given different treatment. According to Lestari and Yuda Negara in Ramadhani, the brain test is used to determine increased learning outcome in the area of knowledge based on initial and final test score. Next, result and discussion. This research is a research and development. The project developed in this research is reading teaching material based on reward urgency to improve reading comprehension skills for grade students at SDN Wiranatan with District Purworejo for Indonesian language learning for class real exploring important information from historical narrative text. The 10 events in life, the 10 national event regarding the proclamation of independence, the result of the study include product design, product result, product trial result, and data analysis. Product design, the process of designing a product for reading teaching material based on reward urgency was carried out based on a questionnaire analysis of the list of teachers and students and based on the criteria for media preparation that results from conclusion of experts. Product research based on the table of research from the recap of the material and media expert assessment. It shows that the Purworejo Regency has written teaching material for 5 grades at SDN Wiranapan and are suitable for use in learning. Product real research based on the result of the teacher response questionnaire at the trial stage. It shows that there 14 questions that receive positive response. The total percentage of positive response is 93%. This indicates that local-based reading teaching material are very well used in the learning process. Data analysis, Purworejo Regency-based reading teaching material are effectively used in Indonesian learning material to explore important information from historical narrative text for fifth grade students at SDN Wiranapan. Conclusion, number 1, the study developed reading teaching material based on Purworejo Regency to improve the reading comprehension skill of fifth grade at Wiranapan Elementary School to explore important information from historical narrative text for learning Indonesia language content. Number 2, the level of feasibility of reading teaching material based on Purworejo Regency is based on an assessment by media and material expert. The percentage of media and material expert assessment is 77 and 74% is in the appropriate category, while the percentage of linguists is 28 is included in the appropriate category. So that Purworejo Regency-based reading teaching material for fifth grade students at elementary school Wiranapan deserves to be tested. Number 3, Purworejo-based reading teaching material receive very good response from teacher and students. So they were effectively used in learning to improve student reading comprehension skills. The average result of initial test score 68 after getting treatment to 81. The result of the engine calculation is 0, 1, 81, and 3. Thank you, sir. And this is all my presentation today. It's all from my presentation. Sorry if there are mistakes. My friend, thank you for your attention. And lastly, you can feel free message me if you have any question about this presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your research. And if there are any questions from this presenter, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the session, and we can discuss it later. Thank you so much. Okay, so we move.
Thanks for your presentation. It was really nice, and I can see the novelty of the study. So I really appreciate that. Now, I think it's time to move to another presenter. So I will call the name of IIARP-ICEBTS, I think. Yeah. Impacts of British colonization on North Indians' landscapes and ethnical identity among women, tea laborers in Assam and Darjeeling. The presenter is Karina Das. Sorry. Are you here?
Yes, thank you.
So please go on.
So my paper is called Impacts of British Colonialism on Northeast India's Landscapes and Ethnic Identity Among Women Laborers in Assam and Darjeeling. So this is my brief outline for the paper. And I'll move on to, so hill stations were initially developed as health getaways for British officials in India. Their cool climates were supposedly beneficial for English health, and they eventually developed into summer vacation capitals for the Raj. They became a way to not only escape the hot climate, but also its indigenous populations. Certain hill stations, including Darjeeling, were bestowed with symbolic status because of their newly tamed landscapes, mountain views, and prospects for tea plantations. In comparison, Assam was never similarly glorified as a hill station and does not benefit from this superior status. Because of this distinction, the different migrant populations that were recruited as plantation laborers for various regions were stereotyped distinctly and often arbitrarily. Before British colonization, local peasant populations had several varying cultural conceptions of forests. Four main distinctions included Mahavana, deep forest, Srivana, village forest, Panchavati, the sacred grove, and the Brajamandala, a series of culturally significant gardens. Additionally, forests were considered to be the homes of several spirits, sacred beings, and deities that could protect peasant tribes from diseases. Assam's forests provided several necessities to the local populations, including food, medicine, and timber. The British development of the timber industry is closely connected to the tea industry. The development of the latter required rapid growth and infrastructure, which was reliant on the former. In this way, forests were dually significant to the local population as they supported livelihoods and offered spiritual comfort. A legal framework of forest conservation and protection was introduced in Assam and other regions of India for the first time during British colonization. When the British annexed Assam, a majority of the region was covered in forests and considered wasted land, and they were not economically beneficial for agriculture. The wild nature of these untamed forests was unfamiliar and therefore fearsome to the British, who already disliked the plains and associated it with disease. By expanding agricultural lands and clearing some of these forests, the East India Company was able to generate much more revenue. When the Forest Department of Assam was established in 1874, there was no land ownership given to local peasants or tribal populations and indigenous groups. Before British
Sorry for disruption. Are you explaining the first slide?
Yes.
Yeah, because I only can see the first slide, so I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes. Okay. The shift from a quasi-feudal economy to a market economy caused unprecedented ecological damage across the entire upper Brahmaputra Valley. When the British tested out different ethnic groups of migrant agricultural laborers as plantation recruits, the climate and ecology of Assam proved to be harmful to those who were not accustomed, as heavy rains would cause malaria and other diseases. By the 19th century, laborers from the Chota Nagpur region were labeled as Class 1 junglies in the planter's lexicon. This means that they were the most attractive for recruitment because of their supposed resilience to disease and inherent skills for physical labor. This will be deconstructed in the next section. Increased labor migration from the Chota Nagpur region ultimately led to the decline of the agrarian crisis. The process of taming Darjeeling's frontiers into economically beneficial tea plantations and eventually hill stations became distinct from that of Assam. The modern-day district of Darjeeling was defined from various territories that were previously owned by the Himalayan kingdoms of Sikkim and Bhutan. Because of the district's geographically narrow frontier, it was easier to establish laws and govern different territories individually. The Treaty of Sagauli in 1816 allowed the East India Company to annex a large portion of the Himalayan Terai lowland region from Nepal. Subsequently, the Treaty of Titalia, including the tract of Darjeeling, was signed between the King of Sikkim and the East India Company in 1817, returning a portion of the Sikkimese land which had previously been annexed by Nepal. This also established Darjeeling as a buffer state between Nepal and India, encouraging trade and migration from Nepal. This leads to a further discussion of its various migrant populations, which I will discuss. Darjeeling was established as a plantation region because of its soil characteristics, and its climate were deemed favorable for agriculture, particularly tea plantation. cultivation. The English habit of drinking black tea was influenced by the Portuguese and Dutch during the 17th century. Darjeeling's climate proved to be intolerable for Chinese migrants who were brought to Darjeeling's plantations. Additionally, British interest in Chinese black tea was complicated by the Opium Wars between 1839 and 42, which strained relations between England and China. This forced the East India Company to cultivate tea somewhere else within its own empire. While over 80 hill stations were established in India under British rule, the most well-known were located in the foothills of the Himalayas, including Darjeeling. During the 19th century conquest, the British had a growing interest in scientific epidemiology, particularly the supposed health benefits of higher altitudes. Although scholars have argued that the tropicality itself is a colonial construction, without medical accuracy, British officials had a strong desire to create little islands of Englishness. However, there are several disadvantages to Darjeeling, which prevented its status as a favored British hill station, including its distance from Calcutta and Shimla's earlier establishment. In Darjeeling's tea economy was growing rapidly, expediting the region's urbanization and integration into the greater colonial economy. This meant that its migrant population was also growing significantly, further turning off the British elite. Okay, so British colonial writers continuously cited race as inherent to work capacity, condemning Assam's local population as lazy natives. Recent domestic growth and cultivation of opium, despite its economic benefits for British colonizers, further contributed to racist colonial stereotype of Assam's population as opium addicts. Subsequently, the nearby Naga population was recruited to work on the tea plantations. Because of their familiarity with shifting cultivation methods and familiarity with forest regions, however, they proved to be resistant to British control. The native Kachari population was similarly recruited and rejected based on a supposed lack of suitability to agricultural production. These trials led to the overall rejection of the native population as a potential labor force for the tea economy and resulted in a further widespread search. There are several terms, varying theories about the origin of the term coolie. While certain scholars believe it comes from the Tamil word coolie, meaning wages, others argue that the term is shortened from Kolarian, a term coined from British to distinguish Aryan-influenced ethnic groups in the northeastern region. The modern term Adivasi in the context of Northeast India denotes tea tribes or descendants of these indentured migrants who were recruited for plantation labor. Adivasi claims to land have frequently been ignored in the British colonial conquest, and tribes were thought to be wasting potential available to them through their forest frontiers. And this led to the deforestation and taming of such landscapes into more commercially profitable tea plantations. The subsequent labeling of Adivasi women as idle, unable to work within the codes of hard work and industriousness, and backwards tribes and hill people led to their unfair exploitation and forced displacement from their communities. In this way, the violent colonization of Assam's forests coincides with the colonial and post-colonial efforts to control the Adivasi worker body through displacement, violence, and control. Hello? So just as Assam's forests had spiritual significance, similar conceptions around the Pahar or the hill, Kaman and tea garden and Mato or the land were prevalent among different ethnic groups in Darjeeling. Under British influence, biological determinism and scientific racism contributed to the construction of the martial race, which included Gorkhas. The British associated cool hilly regions with warlike individual qualities. So additionally, various ethnic groups from Eastern Nepal were financially subordinated under the Gorkha monarchy as economic suppression and migrated to Darjeeling to escape debt. Bidan Golay states that the colonial encounter was the historic moment of Gorkha identity's revolution. After the Gorkhas fought against the British in the Anglo-Nepalese War in 1816, the British developed a newfound fascination with the powerful Gorkha soldiers under the military general's leadership. Additionally, so Gorkha blood became associated with purity and could be contaminated through intermarriage with lesser races, including migrants from nearby Eastern Nepal, such as the Magars or the Gurungs. All of this implies a strong colonial desire to categorize, control, and benefit from bodies through arbitrary racial segregation. In comparison to Adivasi women in Assam who are stereotyped as lazy and sexually deviant, Nepali migrant women in Darjeeling are post-colonially stereotyped as hardworking, but also sexually promiscuous. This leads to similar racially motivated sexual violence against Nepali laborers, both inside and outside the tea plantation. Additionally, Debarati Sen writes that the male envy of women also compounds negative portrayals of women plantation workers. This, along with the cultural marginalization of Nepali women populations within India, further contributes to the subordination of its workers on the tea plantation. Nepali women not only have to negotiate patriarchal hierarchies within the broader community, they also have to deal with the increased risk of sexual violence due to gendered power imbalances. So conclusions. The British colonial project of tea plantations in Assam and Darjeeling played out very differently, but both were influenced by a desire to categorize and control various ethnic populations for economic benefit. The organization of a labor force through racial categories was an essential part of the plantation development process.
Sorry for disruption. You have 1 more minute, so please be conclusive. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. According to post-colonial theorist Anya Lumba, female bodies symbolize the conquered land across the entire colonial period, expanding on the idea that the female body is the first territory to be colonized. The British biopolitical exploitation of the female Adivasi and Nepali migrant worker bodies coincided with their taming of Assam and Darjeeling's landscape. British agrarian development of Northeast India, hill and forest frontiers into tea plantations coincided with arbitrary ethnic classifications to subdue, exploit, and utilize the female worker tea worker body. This has led to continued post-colonial sexual exploitation of and violence against Adivasi and Nepali women tea laborers, particularly within the rapid growing sex trafficking industry within the Northeast. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for presenting the impact of British colonialism on Northeast Indian ethnic identity, especially women tea labor in Assam and Darjeeling. It's quite interesting study. And if any question from the participants regarding this presentation, we will have a Q&A session and you can ask it later on. Thank you. So we can move to the next presentation.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very informative to know about the tea plantation and the violence in the era of colonization. Now I think it's time to move to the next presenter. Okay, so the next presenter, I'm just gonna call their paper ID is 387. No, sorry, it's not. 386. Modernization and the Rise of East Asia, an achievement of Neo-Confucian Ethics. Shu Shin Chang. Are you there? If you are there, please.
386. 386.
Yeah.
I think you video presentation. She already sent a video. If you want to present it here, still you have the opportunity. But if you don't, we already uploaded it to our YouTube channel and you can see it here, watch it here. Thank you.
Yeah, I will present here.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Okay, I will. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You are audible.
Yeah. Oh, okay. The title of my paper is Modernization and the Rise of East Asia, an Achievement of Neo-Confucian Ethics. There are 4 parts about the contents, and the first part is the biography. Yeah, my name is Yuxin Zhang, and I just graduated from university. I learned Chinese language and literatures in Lanzhou University, China. And last year, I attended a summer school in University of Cambridge. It's about international organizations. My areas of interest is Chinese philosophy, Neo-Confucianism, and international relations. And the part 2 is my abstract. The relationship between Confucianism and modernization and the positioning of Confucianism in Eastern and Western cultures are questions that have been raised in recent times. Contemporary Neo-Confucianism has responded to this question theoretically, while the history of East Asia countries groping toward modernization has answered it practically. After the 1970s, Japan and the 4 Asian tigers created a miracle of growth and development in the process of exploring their own new paths that were suitable for the new international environment and national conditions. The miraculous rise of the East Asia region won the respect of the world. And this historical event with a sense of renewal has led scholars to re-examine the positive role of the Confucian tradition in the modernization of East Asia. This encompasses not only issues of socio-economic growth and economic development strategies, but also deeper issues of political philosophy. Therefore, this paper presents the close relationship between the Neo-Confucian ethics and the rise of Asia from the perspective of the modernity of the Confucian tradition in East Asia and Asian political democracy. Neo-Confucian ethics has shaped Asia's industrial civilization, and Asia's economic development is consistent with the philosophical theory inherent in Confucian ethics. And the part 3 is description. The first part is the modernity of Confucian tradition in East Asia. The A part, historical perspective. Confucianism is an integral part of the Asia culture and a distinctive feature of the Chinese-speaking world. And as such, it is often seen as a regional phenomenon rather than a world religion. The overall pattern of life in East Asia contains conscious structures that are based on values that are markedly different from those of the modern West, which emphasize contractual relationships. The B part is enlightenment in the Confucian traditions. In a broader sense of humanism, Confucianism affirms the dignity of the human person, their inherent freedom, and their right to self-development, emphasizing that people should have a conscience, should be rational, and should be an integral part of a community. C part is the modern spirit embedded in East Asia Confucianism. Well, deep reflection on human and learning to be human are the cornerstones of the modernization of the Confucian tradition and the foundation of East Asian modernity. The second part is political democracy in East Asia. The first is politics of authority in East Asia. Although the new authoritarian system of government in contemporary East Asia is far removed from the pluralistic politics of the West, it is also very different from the centralized political system of the past. It is a political and a cultural system of its own that combines the strengths of traditional Eastern culture and modern Western culture in a way that is conducive to the development of the nation and the region. The next is Asian-style democracy. The goal of Asian-style democracy is to establish a good government that overrides society. That is, a moral government that meets the country's economic development needs and maintains social stability. There is a huge difference between democracy in this sense and democracy in the Western sense. And Confucianism is the main ideological source of this difference. If this ideology were to take root, it would undoubtedly be a substantive challenge to the modern model of democracy modeled on the West. The third part is Neo-Confucian Ethics and the rise of East Asia. The first is Neo-Confucian Ethics and industrial East Asia. The small a part is unconscious life. The Confucian ethic has been utilized and strengthened in the process of modernization in its favorable elements of industrialization and economic growth, and its unfavorable elements have been unconsciously suppressed and eliminated. The B part is Neo-Confucian Ethics. Well, the Neo-Confucian ethics contributed to the formation of a new type of capitalism in East Asia. Although it is essentially the same as the Western work ethic, it has a very different structure and spiritual orientation. Unlike the Protestant ethic, which emphasizes a sense of individual right, its best perspective emphasizes responsibility. It promotes not individualism, but our commitment to a large entity. This entity can be our family, our company, or our collective, or our nation. The next part is Neo-Confucian Ethics and economic development in East Asia. The rise of Confucian capitalism in East Asia will fundamentally reshape the world economic, political, and cultural order constructed by Western Protestant capitalism, thus changing the basis of its existence of Western universal values and a universal consciousness based on Western centrism. The part 4 is my conclusion. Well, the economic miracle created by the Eastern Asian model has shocked the world and brought a real opportunity for the revival and rebirth of the Asian cultural traditions of East Asia. Confucianism, as the common cultural background of East Asia, has laid the cultural foundation and philosophical support for the emergence and development of the entire East Asia miracle, thus providing the best political order, moral foundation, and ethical values for real political and social life, and achieving effective social integration, cohesion, and development. In this process, Confucianism has increasingly become the carrier of self-awareness and self-worth in East Asia, and has become the ideology and cultural resource that distinguishes and confronts Western civilization in East Asia. Therefore, the positive role of Confucian philosophical thought in the rise of East Asia civilization is an undeniable fact, and this influence will continue to persist. Yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you for presenting this interesting study regarding modernization and the rise of East Asia from the perspective of Neo-Confucian ethics. If there are any questions from the participants regarding this presentation, you can come to the Q&A session and ask from the presenter. Yeah, now we can move to the next presentation. Professor Mike.
Well, thanks for your presentation. It was really nice and good to know about the new things about Confucius ethics, new Confucius ethics in Asia. Well, really appreciate, because it was really knowledgeable and I learned a lot of things from you. Thank you. Now it's time to just move to the next presenter, whose paper ID is 387, The Impacts of Modern Environmental Volatility and Environmental Complexity is a Key Account Manager Practices and Performance Outcomes. The presenter is Thomas. Thank you. If you are there, please go on.
387, I think already sent a video presentation, so we can skip it and we can move to the next one. Thank you.
Okay, the next one, paper ID is 389. The determinants of farmers' perceived flood risk and their flood adaptation assessment, as a study of Charland area of Bangladesh. Okay, MD Omar, thank you. If you are there.
389, are you here? You want to present it? I think you already sent a video too, right?
Yes, am I audible?
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yeah,
Respected professor, am I audible? Okay.
Yeah, you are very audible. Yeah, please continue, please.
Okay, let me just check with my. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Farooq MD Omar, and welcome to all International Institute of Academic Research and Publication International Conference on Economics, Business, and Tourism Social Science. My research topic is the determinants of farmers' perceived flood risks and their adoption of flood adaptation assessment, a study in a Charland area of Bangladesh. And this is the flow of the presentation. This is the author's biography. I am the first author and corresponding author of my paper. This is Farooq MD Omar, and I have been working in the Bangladesh Civil Service. And I have recently completed my master's degree in Masters of Economics from Hiroshima University. And another co-author is Dr. Kashablal Moharjan. He is supervisor of masters, and his academic interest is basically agricultural economics and rural development. This is the synthesis of the abstract. The research objective is to analyze the factors affecting farmers' perceived flood risks and flood adaptation assessment, data cross-sectional survey, face-to-face interview, multi-stage sampling, total sample size 359, dependent variable, perceived flood risks, and flood adaptation assessment. Explanatory variables, socioeconomic factors with the addition of flood experience, flood risk awareness, and trust in government, and so on. Unit of analysis, individual farmers, and key methodological analytical method in this study is multiple linear regression, and key findings of this study is farmers perceived a higher risk to crops and livestock income and valuable properties compared to the sector of health and disease. Farmers with a larger farmer size and more flood experience and greater risk awareness perceived higher flood risks, whereas they perceived lower flood risks in exchange for greater trust in public flood adaptation. Farmers who had larger farmland, severe flood experience, and higher flood risk awareness were likely to have higher self-efficacy, response efficacy, and response cost. General background, Bangladesh is one of the world's most flood-prone countries, and flood adaptation is an important part of the flood risk management. And we know that the protection motivation theory is widely known to assess the farmers or public perception or psychological aspects to consider any flood adaptation behavior. And it consists of two major components, threat appraisal and coping appraisal. Threat appraisal is basically, we consider it as perceived risks, and coping appraisal we consider it as flood adaptation assessment. So literature said that higher perceived flood risks and coping beliefs increase the flood adaptation, but high perceived flood risk can result in the higher flood adaptive response if they are accompanied by high adaptation assessment. Many studies consider the two aspects to show the relationship with flood adaptation. However, it is not adequately addressed in the literature how farmers perceive flood risks and assess their adaptation measures in order to understand flood adaptation behavior. Hence, to guide flood risk communication, systematic insight into the factors that link to the farmers' perceived flood risks and adaptation assessment is very important in context of Charland of Bangladesh. This is the literature. Previous literature basically considered the overall climate change issue, but this study mainly considered the flood adaptation behavior of the Charland farmer. Basically, Charland is the very minor area, and this is very highly flood-prone area, and it is the river and island. So people are highly vulnerable to the floods. That's why it's important to know how farmer behavior. So basically, protection motivation theory, we already said that it has two components, threat appraisal and coping appraisal. So in our study, we combine the perceived risk probability and consequence as a combination of perceived flood risk or risk perception. So, and the coping appraisal, it has three subcomponents: self-efficacy, response efficacy, and response cost. Self-efficacy is the ability of the farmers to adopt a flood adaptation measures. Response efficacy, to what extent farmers believe this adaptation measures is effective or not. Response cost is the cost required for the adoption of each adaptation measures. This is the materials and methods. Bangladesh's flood-prone areas, and Shirazganj district is among the all districts. This is highly flood-prone. And under Shirazganj districts, we consider the Chowhali sub-district in our study. Data and sampling, in our case, we consider the multi-stage sampling. Basically, 2 unions, Gurjan and Istal, under the Chowhali sub-districts were purposely selected. Then within each union, 3 villages from the each union was selected randomly. Village farmer list was collected from the sub-district agriculture office. Then farmers were selected randomly from the farmers list. And with this procedure, the total sample size was determined to be 359. And data collection method, face-to-face interview, the survey was conducted on August 2021. This is the list of the variables. In the left-hand side, we see our independent or explanatory variable, and we give the description and how we measure the unit of these individual explanatory variables. Result and discussion. From the result and discussion, we see that first one, the descriptive statistics. So the age of the respondents is 48.68. That means mostly the middle-aged person in context of Bangladesh. And if we consider the gender, so 70% farmers are the male farmers, and the year of schooling is very low in context of the Chorland. And we see that if you consider the annual income, we see that this is very low, or that means only 44,000 has annual income. This is very low. So in our case, and this is the table for the farmers' adoption of flood adaptation strategy. In 2021, there was a havoc of flood that was devastatingly occurring in our country, and Chorland people are highly vulnerable to this flood. So in context of 2020 flood, we consider 21 flood adaptation measures, and this is the frequency and percentage. So our flood adaptation measures, we have divided into 2 parts: the farming related flood adaptation measures and non-farming related flood adaptation measures. So these are the frequency and percentage. Then we analyze the farmers' perceived risks. For farmers' perceived risks, we considered in 4 dimensions. So what are the dimensions? The first one is the household assets, then the crops and livestock, then their income, then physical health and disease. So we see that the mean for the perceived probability and perceived severity is higher for household asset, crops and livestock, and income compared to the household asset and physical health. That means farmer perceived higher risks in case of household asset and income. And if we show the pie graph, we see that the 28.39% farmers have higher perceived risks in case of crops and livestock. Then consequently 27.25 in case of income, and 24.14 for household asset, and then rest on is 20.22 for physical health and diseases. Then our topic is farmers flood adaptation assessment. So we divided the farmers flood adaptation assessment in 3 categories: self-efficacy and response efficacy and response cost. This is the descriptive statistics based on 21 flood adaptation measures. So this is the descriptive statistics. It's a big table, so I think we can describe. So as we main analytical method is multiple linear regression. So among the explanatory variables, at first we conducted the multicollinearity test. So from the multicollinearity test, we tested the variance inflation factors. So we see that from all of the variables, their variance inflation factor is less than less than 2. Most of the case, the variable variance inflation factor, in this case, there is no multicollinearity issue. So this table is factors affecting farmers' perceived flood risks. So basically, we see that from this table, the major determinants for farmers' perceived flood risks is flood experience and flood risk awareness. So these two variables affect all dimensions as well as overall flood adaptation measures. And the other significant predictors is gender, trust in government. So they separately determine the different dimensions. So in our regression and analysis, basically we estimated the standardized coefficient. So this is another table, the factors affecting farmers' flood adaptation assessment. So we have three parts: self-efficacy, response-efficacy, and response cost. Similarly, in this case, the flood experience and flood risk awareness is and farm size. These three factors affect the three parts of the farmers' flood adaptation assessment. That indicate that farmers who have higher flood experience, farmers who have higher risk awareness, and who have higher farmland, they are more likely to have higher self-efficacy, response efficacy, and response cost. Conclusion and recommendation: as farmers' flood experience and risk awareness are significant predictors of risk perception and adaptation assessment, necessary campaign and programs should be taken to create flood awareness among farmers over existing belief. And in this case, the information farmers receive, this is very important about flood risk, because this information can play important role on risk perception or perceived risks, as well as the coping appraisal to build up their psychological changes to adopt adequate flood adaptation measures. So ensuring the accuracy and timeliness of such information is very important. More trust in the implementation of public adaptation measures also induces lower perceived risks. So farmers who have higher trust on government, they have lower perceived risks. So government should take adequate steps to increase the trust among the farmers on government action. That means the credibility of government action is very necessary in this case. This is my reference. Thank you all. This is all of my presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for presenting the very important topic, determinants of farmer perceived flood risk and their flood adaptation assessments, quite important in the region where the people and the farmer are facing climate change and devastating floods, quite important. And yeah, thank you so much. And all the participants, if there is any question, you can come to the Q&A session and we will discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'm thankful for your presentation, and it was really nice and interesting. And also, it was like explicitly explained everything, all the methods. So it was really knowledgeable. So it's time to move to the next presenter. I'm just call the ID, the paper ID. So please, the paper ID is 390, the Authentic Leadership, Innovation, Work Behavior through Organization, Culture, Study of Indonesian State-Owned Enterprise. The presenter name is Indrayanti. Please, if you are there, please go on.
390. Yeah, thank you. Please share your screen. Indrayanti, can you please share your screen to start your presentation? Can you hear me? We can't hear you. Indrayanti 390. We can't hear you.
Okay, I'll ask him coming on video.
Indrayanti 390. Hello? Yeah, it's visible now. Please continue. We can't hear you. Please remove your mic. Remove it from the computer, please. Anyone can hear her? Professor Mike?
No,
No, we cannot hear. No.
we can't hear.
I don't know what's the problem in her side.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, it's okay now. Please.
Sorry. Wait, I will share my. Okay, is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible now, please.
Okay, sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, hello everybody. In this valuable moment, I would like to present authentic leadership and innovative work behavior through organizational culture and Indonesian state-owned enterprises. This presentation was funded by the Director of Research Gajah Mada University through the RTA program. And I am Indra. I obtained my PhD from Nottingham Business School, United Kingdom, and currently I'm the senior lecturer in the Faculty of Psychology, Gajah Mada University, Indonesia. My team, Nida Ulfias, is a graduate student in the Master Program of Psychology while being a human resource development practitioner at one of the state-owned enterprises. Yeah, this is a sort of abstract, and the topic is concerning on leadership, culture, and innovative work behavior. However, I will elaborate it in the next slide. So the Ministry of State-Owned Enterprises has developed a strategic plan to encourage companies to be competitive through innovation. Innovation is included as the second priority of the 5 strategic priorities in 2020 until 2024. According to Cantor 1988, innovation is a work of new thinking applied in human life. Innovation needs to be grown in the form of work behavior in the organization. According to Scott and Bruce 1994, innovation work behavior refers to a complex behavior consisting of 3 stages: creating, promoting, and realizing ideas. Further, Johnson's 2000s conveyed that innovation work behavior is defined as the intentional creation, introduction, and applications of new ideas in work roles, groups, or organization to benefit from work roles, groups, or organization. Furthermore, innovation work behavior will also play a role in encouraging the achievement of high organizational performance in the form of increasing work performance and reducing the desire to leave the company. On the one hand, there is an assumption that an innovation program requires cooperation and collaboration among group members in the work unit. It is based on the idea that individuals with different backgrounds and talents will form a combination of thoughts and exchange creative knowledge to create innovation. In 2021, a study on the concept of modern innovation was carried out at the group level by Blank et al. And Zhang and Wang. Previously, Greenberg and Baron 2003 also discussed this urgency in their book Behavior in Organization. It is in line with the opinion of Sender and Bowen in 1985 regarding the level of perspective in groups and organization, which are perception rise at the individual level, individuals share an understanding or perception as a group to be united as a collective perception. These individuals interact and share interpretations of events and behaviors over time. Ultimately, it can be structured as a group's collective perception of situation and events within the organization. On the other hand, considering this condition, the government has made a program to optimize innovative work behavior through the quality control group. The assumption is that innovation can emerge from the group level, in the sense that the group level or work unit consists of many employees who work together to share ideas, generate, promote, and eventually will implement them in the form of work instruction and procedures applied in the company. Therefore, the innovation work behavior in this study was carried out at the group level. Furthermore, innovation work behavior can be influenced by individual and situational factors. Leadership, as one of the situational factors, attracts researchers to study more deeply. Leaders will greatly influence employee work behavior, including innovative work behavior. Authentic leadership has become a contemporary style, including in the Indonesian context. According to Walumba et al. 2008, authentic leadership can be defined as a pattern of leadership behavior that utilizes and promotes psychological capacities and a positive ethical climate that encourages self-awareness, internalized moral perspective, balance in information processing, and relational transparency between leaders and employees to create self-development positive for every employee. According to Avelio et al. And several other researchers, authentic leader will improve organizational performance by increasing productivity, saving unnecessary expenses, and stimulating high employee commitment, improving business performance by developing innovative solutions to solve problems and answer the market challenge. The role of authentic leadership in innovation work behavior is expected to increase with the existence of organizational culture. It is based on the idea that the leader is an authority figure who will be seen by employees as an objective figure, as it is, and upholds morals. His influence can encourage positive behavior, individual behavior in organizations, such as, as we know that the role of leadership needs to be supported by the existence of organizational culture. Organizational culture is the basic assumption or the basic that will make individual as a guidance for individual to behave or to attitudes and behavior in the work. Increase in the implementation of this organizational culture will further increase the emergence of other positive behaviors in the workplace, which is in the study is innovative work behavior. In the Indonesian context, organizational culture is state-owned enterprise must follow the circular letter of the Ministry of State-owned Enterprises concerning the core values of human resources: trustworthy, competent, harmonious, loyal, adaptive, and collaborative, abbreviated as akhlak. It should be implemented thoughtfully and consistently to become a corporate culture that will ultimately result in employee behavior and shape organizational culture in the state-owned enterprises. Thus, in this study, we focus on akhlak, as in organizational culture becomes a mediator in the relationship between authentic leadership and employees' innovative work behavior. The existence of akhlak culture is predicted to be able to increase the role of authentic leadership on innovative work behavior of employee at state-owned enterprise in Indonesia. Regarding the method, we use a total of 272 participants of state-owned enterprises. Considering that we apply innovation at the group level, the group data that can be used is 17 work units with 153 participants. As for the instruments in the study, we use 3 scales: the innovative work behavior, authentic leadership, and organizational culture. And for data analysis, we use component or variance-based structural equation model. In the data analysis, we tested convergent validity and discriminative validity first. After invalid items were removed from the model, the results showed that all measurement items met the requirements. In addition, there are no supporting indicators that has discriminant validity problem. And then we move to the results. Next, then we test the outer model first, followed by the new inner model, and then the hypothesis. The results can be seen in the following tables. The outer model tests on a high reliability value. The inner model tests so that the Q-square value of akhlak culture is 0.501. Furthermore, hypothesis testing shows that organizational culture is proven to act as a mediator in the relationship between authentic leadership and innovative behavior with a p-value less than 0.0. And next, Okay, so authentic leadership role in innovative work behavior will increase through the implementation of akhlak's organizational culture. Leaders have a role in maintaining a particular culture, and authentic leaders will know their true selves and behave accordingly, which will be automatically communicated to their subordinates. Through the akhlak organizational culture, authentic leader can exemplify behavior toward their subordinates, which direct employees in the team to strengthen the implementation of akhlak's organizational culture. By focusing on 6 core values: trustworthy, which means holding fast to the given trust; competent, which means continuing to learn and develop capabilities; harmonious, can be interpreted as mutual care and respect for differences; loyal, meaning prioritizing the interests of the nation and state; adaptive, namely continuing to innovate and make improvement following technological advancement; and collaborative, characterized by building synergistic cooperation. Implementing akhlak's organizational culture teaches employees to have the enthusiasm and adapt in the face of time, one of which is innovative work behavior. And move to the discussion. According to Avilio 2004, authentic leadership function on individual, team, and organizational level. In line with Hughes et al. 2022 stated
Sorry
that—
for disruption, you have 2 minutes more, so we can close. Thank you.
Effect not only on individual behavior, but also on behavior at the team level and even in the organizational level. Authentic leaders are very aware of themselves. Authentic leaders are aware of the context. Authentic leaders will know their strengths and weakness and behave accordingly. When authentic leaders are rooted in positive psychology based on moral and ethics, this aligns with the concept of akhlak's organizational culture. Okay. In conclusion, this study shows that employees' innovation work behaviors can be increased from the existence of an authentic leadership role through the implementation of the akhlak organizational culture in its state-owned enterprises work unit. Akhlak's organizational culture teaches employees to be enthusiastic and adaptive in facing the changing times continuously by innovating. Thus, the state-owned enterprises can do several things: strengthening the role of leadership, especially authentic leadership through leadership training program; improving the implementation of akhlak's organizational culture in each work unit to support performance target, maybe by giving awards to employees; and the last one is deepening understanding and implementation through knowledge sharing related to the application of akhlak's organizational culture in the daily work environment. Okay, this is our references, and thank you for watching and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for presenting one of the most important topic: authentic leadership and innovative work behavior through organizational culture, where the authentic leadership can play an important role in the development and overall positive outcome of an organization. If anyone have question, we will have Q&A session, so we will discuss it later. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your presentation, and it was quite interesting to know about the leadership impacts and their role in different things. And it was really knowledgeable. I learned a lot of things from you, so thank you for your explicit explanation of all these things. Now we are going to move to our last one. Yeah, the last ID. So the paper ID is 394, applying leadership coaching as an approach to support the servant leader development. Nathan Foley.
Oh, it's 393.
But my one is 394.
Yeah, okay, 393. I can call him to come to present is the paper ID 393. The role of brand culture is reference for the marketability of selected five-star hotels in national capital region basis for proposed brand marketing strategies to be presented by Lucky Boy M. Alcala. Are you available?
Yes. Hi, good afternoon. Can you able to hear me now?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. First of all, good afternoon, Dr. Shakir, and to the rest of the participants for today's international conference. And I'm really glad that we can able to collaborate and share these ideas at the same time as our research with a different approach of the industries, from social science to tourism to the business. And let me just share my screen so I can able to start my presentation. Okay, can you share, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, now, the role of the brand culture as the reference for the marketability of the selected five-star hotel in the national capital region. And the main basis of this research is for the proposed brand marketing strategies. Now, the reason why I able to come up with this research regarding with the national capital region here in the Philippines itself, because I'm from the Philippines. So the main focus for this one is to identify what are the needs to improve in terms of the brand marketing with the different five-star hotels in the national capital region. And at the same time, looking for what would be the gap, okay? And how can we able to bridge those gap in terms of brand culture? I'll be presenting the role of brand culture as reference to marketability value of selected five-star hotel in the national capital region. Basis for building a strong marketability value from framework for hospitality industry. The main objective of this study is to critically examine the role of brand culture in influencing the marketability value of selected five-star hotel in Metro Manila. With this, the study aims to develop recommendations to improve the role of brand culture, coinciding the perceived marketability value offering and a model to improve the overall brand culture of selected five-star hotel in Metro Manila that can help boost the long-term profitability of the hospitality sector. According to Salman 2014, marketing and branding cross hand in hand. Many corporations focus most effective on marketing, however, not branding. There may be a spectrum of opinions, control, advertising, and branding in a manipulative manner consistent with wishes of small, medium corporations. And according to Sharma 2015, it is necessary to have a clear understanding of a brand culture and its role in order to have a clear expectations on branding for the businesses and defining the step to reach an aspirational state. The study was administered to 345 customer respondents and 30 manager respondents of selected five-star hotel, in which majority are situated in Mega Manila. Mostly single female acquired the postgraduate degree, privately employed, and who visited the hotel occasionally. Customer response agreed on the existing brand culture predictors evident on the marketability value of the selected five-star hotel, while strongly agreed on such. Furthermore, no significant difference was noted on the brand culture predictors in terms of brand identity, brand image, brand experience, brand equity, brand differentiation, and brand communication, as perceived according to the respondents' category as customers or managers in hotel locations. But on the contrary, a significant difference noted marketability value predictors. Top among the rank in excellent quality hotel ambience, facilities, equipment, recreation, leisure, amenities, which acquired. Accessible hotel location with the good provisions of parking areas, quality product and services offering convenient and short check guest cycle like booking, pre-departure and post-arrival, and stay and departure. Excellent in the proper handling of guests, luggage, and belongings, while the least strength in the area of the excellent is the hotel brand image and organizational structure. The top 5 problems and challenges encountered by the 5-star hotels in the national capital regions are expensive accommodation packages, moderate provisions for promos and discounts on packages, inconvenient booking process, customer queries not promptly attended, unappealing hotel culture, poor product branding, hotel image is not promoted exclusively, and an attractive brand image. Within every company, big or small, brand and culture must unite to create a solid foundation for a lasting, successful business model. Individually, these concepts serve as a different purpose, but when combined, they are driving force that enables long-term and sustainable growth. To address the lowest indicator, all brand culture predictors should be more reflected and identified with the customer. Since the customer perceived brand culture of the selected 5-star hotel to a lesser extent, it implies that these luxury hotel companies must revisit the elements of the brand culture to distinguish itself and its unique offering. Since brand gap indicator has a perfect relationship in achieving the high level of customer perceived marketability value, that means identifying lapses or gap for the company and find a way to connect strongly their brands with the consumers. A company suffering from a brand gap cannot effectively communicate who it is or its customer. To bridge the brand gap and achieve a strong, charismatic, and aspirational brand, the company may employ product or services differentiation which can be used to gain a competitive advantage. The company must understand what is their brand and why it is appealing, and what makes it different from the others, and improve their offering. Once again, I am Lucky Alcala, taking up Masters in International Hospitality Management. Thank you for watching and listening to my presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for presenting this important topic on branding culture and its importance and role in business success, especially in study area for the selected 5-star hotels. If any questions, we will have Q&A session and you can come to discuss it. Thank you so much, and we can move to the next presentation.
Well, thanks for your presentation. It was good about the branding and the business aspects. Now we are going to move to the next presentation. I'm going to call the name of the idea of the paper, which is 349, Applying Leadership Coaching as an Approach to Support Servant Leader Development. Nathan Pole, if you're there, please go on.
Well, good morning, or should I say good afternoon for most of you. So my name's Nathan Polly. I worked on this paper with Shoba. Let me there's a picture of both of us, and I've got Shoba on the call as well. So I'm going to present this presentation, and then Shoba will be available for questions at the end as well. And so my role in this particular project was doing a lot of the training. Shoba was involved in doing a lot of coaching. And what we were trying to do was bring together coaching and training as a way of being able to more effectively develop servant leaders in the context of Cambodia. So this study explored how blended learning could be based on Androgical Principles of nows and leadership coaching, and we drew from Whitmore's GROW model for that. And so what we found was that learners largely reported positive outcomes in their servant leader development. The evidence suggests that further programs may benefit from better integration of coaching and training, and providing extra additional support for languages, and also strengthening opportunities for interpersonal interaction between learners. So let me just break down the project and talk you through how this worked, and then what our study found. So servant leadership in its most basic form is another's first form of leadership. It first was originally proposed by Robert Greenleaf in 1970. The model we used was from Sanjaya, Saros, and Centaura, and it said that there were 6 different dimensions. So I've got what's listed there on the screen, but essentially one of them focused on service, another dealt with the personal aspects of leadership, another dealt with relational, moral, spiritual, and the transformational. So it actually, servant leadership for us was actually a great model because it allowed us to touch on aspects like, for example, authentic leadership, as well as transformational leadership. And so it brought a lot of those ideas together, and we were able to talk about those. The GROW model, there's essentially 4 different aspects to this. So it works in a very simple sort of format. So you start off by working your coachee through from what their goals are, then what their reality is, then what their options are, and then what the way forward is. So I've got some of the questions that might be asked up there on the screen at the moment, but it's a very simple concept. And the idea is that you're using a lot of questions to help the person that you're coaching be able to really explore what they're thinking, where their possibilities might go, and then actually helping them to make some change in their life. One of the reasons we used the GROW model was because it was very simple to implement, and it's also very well known and well used across the coaching space. The Androgical Principles that we drew on, I've got those up right now. So there's 6 of them. So you need to know. So adult learners need to understand the training purpose. Foundation, so adult learners will always reflect on prior experiences and bring those into the room with them. Self-concept, adult learners are going to be self-directed and should be given autonomy and voice in their learning decisions, and that very much fit with the nature of both servant leadership and also the nature of our research methodology, which we'll talk about in a moment. Readiness, so adult learners must perceive the training to be relevant so that they're ready. Motivation, so adult learning is problem-centered rather than content-centered. So we very much try to bring out the problems of the individual learners we're facing. And then lastly, orientation. So adult learners are likely or more likely to be internally motivated. That was certainly something we found, and when we were designing our programs, that was what we certainly tried to work around. Participatory action research. So essentially what we have done in this particular study is several different cycles. So we started off by bringing together a team. We talked about what the overall concept was. We built that and then worked with experts on that. We then brought it to the learners. We talked about the design. We got their feedback, got reflection, and then based on that, we went back and then on a week-by-week basis or a module basis, we then actually started each module by talking through what their feedback was, and then we took that and we acted on that. So we did our best to try and make sure that the actual training and the coaching was very much driven by student desires for and needs, and very much they had a direction in terms of where the actual program went. So again, that was something which we felt harmonized well with servant leadership, and also very much with our I guess philosophy of andragogy, and probably even some of the principles of pedagogy that we've experienced in our careers. Here's a quick overview of our participants. So we had a combination of Khmer or Cambodian learners in the room. We had a number of Americans. There was also several participants from the UK, and there was one Filipino. What we found was when we went out and we tried to recruit, but we found that there was a lot of engineers, management, and also teachers who really felt that this fitted well with them. And what was very interesting, and I put a note here, is that all of them came from NGOs. So the concept of servant leadership had a tendency to very much appeal to more the NGO sector. And that was interesting for us. It wasn't all that surprising, because I think the nature of serving others probably best resonates with this sector, but that was certainly something which came out in the participants that we got. Some of the findings that we found. So needs to know and relevant. So all participants believe servant leadership was relevant and that the course helped their development, servant leaders in their respective context. Learners noted how the course introduced leadership ideas and concepts and emphasized the value of service and helped learners express themselves more authentically in their interpersonal relationships. So foundation, while few Cambodians understood the term servant leadership, it helped learners build on their understanding of leadership. So one of our participants which the alias is Sam, said, I feel I developed as a servant leader. Before I joined the class, I didn't know and understand what servant leadership meant, but I discovered leadership is not just about telling people what to do, but it's about serving them too. So it helped me change my way of thinking to be more authentic, and I'm working with my team at work. So it helps remind me when I work with my team of the earlier lessons. So that was one of the comments that was made. What we also found was self-concept. So learners agreed that their content was organized, applicable, and holistic in exploring servant leadership. So that was good. What they also said was that presenting different readings by different learners also encouraged different class discussion. So we made sure that was brought out, and that was some of their feedback. But the idea of actually having them share different thoughts and ideas and readings helps to create shared understanding. So, and then the motivation and orientation. So learners felt that learning and leadership was hindered by COVID-19. Surprise, surprise. What that meant in practice was that a lot of our learners actually had to go online. And so they couldn't be in the office with others. And that separation actually did impact how they could apply servant leadership, because often they were a lot more disconnected, and it also impacted our training as well. I might just jump to the next slide. I won't bother reading what they said, but it was very much in line with that. So this, in terms of the andragogy, sorry, I'll start with the findings on the andragogy. So, discussion. So application of Noel's andragogical principles strengthened our course design. We found that our findings were consistent with his earlier works, and applicants attracted to the program were both self-motivated, and then they believed that the program was relevant to their immediate or perceived future careers. And as a result of actually doing our program, a number of our participants then went on to take on management and leadership roles. So the course design facilitated a cooperative climate, it harmonized with servant leadership, and it encouraged an openness and authenticity within the classroom. We found this was beneficial to learning within Cambodia, and this also very much aligned with what Shoba and I found in our earlier work in New Zealand as well. And I think this comes as no surprise to anyone, but COVID-19 certainly did impact learner engagement. And so we, to try and get around that, we did work with, we feel that in future courses, group work could be strengthened to help sort of build those relationships more strongly. We also recommend that potentially further research could be done on how this could integrate with the idea of the servant teacher. So leadership coaching, for most of our participants, it was quite new. They believed it was effective in helping their servant leader development. Most of them had 3 coaching sessions, which were roughly around about an hour, sometimes more, and it worked through a number of different issues. A lot of them were personal, but certainly all of them were tied to the context of the learners. So some of the things which really did help was coach proficiency and professionalism, particularly in the listening, asking questions and providing feedback. And certainly feedback was that the coach was patient, affable, and very helpful. So what we also found, though, was that coaching, particularly because we did it in an international context where Shoba was in New Zealand and most of our learners were in Cambodia, that created some challenges. So one of the things which came back as strong feedback for us was it's best to try and integrate the coach more strongly into the classroom and, if possible, to have them physically present. So what we found in terms of the actual literature was that there needs to be more scaffolding around the concept of coaching, because particularly with Cambodian or Khmer learners, this is a new concept.
Sorry for interruption, please, you be conclusive. It's only 2 more minutes. Thank you.
Sure, thank you very much. And so we found that was certainly the case. We also found that a lot of our research on the benefits of coaching very much supported previous research, and that there needs to be more work around finding synchronous coaching, more work around synchronous coaching, because that at the moment we found was very challenging. Cross-cultural development. So we found that servant leadership was very much applicable to a lot of the different learners, particularly Khmer, but we also found that there was challenges, particularly with language, and as a result, a lot more support needs to be provided for language in future. And so nothing that we've said there is too surprising. We found previous research supported the idea that servant leadership is applicable, but there was some cultural differences, and that was some of the things which we found were some of the big learning opportunities for our Khmer staff. So in future, we would recommend that if you're doing cross-cultural courses like this, that there's Khmer glossaries, translation of texts, and probably more time spent on things like reviewing terms, concepts, and theories. So some quick limitations, and then I'll finish and we'll be done. So some of the things we found was that we were working very closely with NGOs. So this isn't always reflective of the true nature of society. And the other thing that we found was that we were also working very much with Christians. So there was quite a high number of Christians who were in the course, or people from faith backgrounds. And many of those who had joined the course were also very highly educated, which is not true of most of Khmer culture. So we found that it is important to introduce servant leadership to new contexts. At this point in time, that's been a bit of a limitation, particularly in Southeast Asia. This course certainly helped that in coaching, and in particular certainly helped facilitate that development. Our findings show that servant leadership and development through coaching are relevant with Cambodia and its culture, but it needs to be contextualized through learning support, better integration of coaching with training, and if possible, face-to-face delivery and additional discussion time. So here's my reference list, and happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for presenting this interesting topic regarding servant leadership in the trainee perception regarding the outcome in the form of research. And I hope this study may be well effective for other researchers in this area. Thank you so much. And we can move to the last presentations. I think Professor Mike, you don't have in the schedule, so I will call the presenter is the final one. The paper ID is 395, a generalized model for health adaptation by elderly people in developing country, an empirical study to be presented by MD Rakibul Haq. Are you available? 395. 395. Paper ID 395. Rakibul Haq. Rakibul Haq. I think it's not available, and maybe, yeah, I don't know, the late registration, which is not included in the program schedule. Am I audible, Professor Mai?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So I think this was the last one, and
I guess the last one is Nathan, so it's already done.
no, the one is which I'm mentioning is late registration, so it's not included in the schedule. Okay, so it's okay. So
But the
yeah.
previous presenter before Nathan is not registered. It's not in the list. Maybe she is.
Which one? Sorry.
The presenter before Nathan. After me and before Nathan, there is no list of her name or his name.
Yeah, it's not included in this list, in this program schedule. That's why I said it's.
I've already present then.
Yeah, so it's late registration. That's we added it lately. Anyway, okay. Thank you so much. And I think it's the end of the session, and I hope the participants of today's conference enjoyed a lot our today virtual session, and it was really a great experience with all of you. Thank you so much for participating in our virtual conference. All the presenters have very good research ideas and had put their efforts for the best. All the papers, as I observed, data was supported by robust methodologies and theoretical frameworks and achievable objectives, but still improvements are always needed by every manuscript. Now we are open for Q&A session, and if you have any question regarding any presentation, you can ask, or if you have any suggestion, or if you have any questions beyond the presentation regarding the conference or upcoming conferences or publication or anything else. So now we are in the Q&A session. Thank you. Any question, any suggestion?
Dr. Shakir, permission to speak.
Sorry.
Yeah, just permission to speak. I'm just going to ask regarding with what will be the process if it's like again, if we're going to publish on Scopus Index about our full abstract. So what will be the process again for that one, if you may?
Thank you. Only abstract, I think, will not be published in Scopus journal. You can publish your papers in Scopus Index journals. We have Q1 Scopus journal, that's F1000 research. Is a journal in IIARP, have a gateway over there, and it is an author-oriented journal. You can control most of the process. And but this journal basically need the data, the associated data that is associated with your paper, such as the database and the questionnaires, other data associated with your paper. Without that, the journal will not proceed with your paper. Other journals we also have in Scopus, such as Q2 up to Q4. You can consider all those journals, but before that, you can have a look on your manuscript, and if there are any problems or corrections needed, then you can do that and send us after 3, 4, 5 days after this session, and we will tell you how to proceed with your papers.
Okay, so if I'm going to, like, for example, if I'm going to publish it in Scopus Index or Q1, I will just going to send the full paper. Is that correct?
Yeah, you need to send the full paper. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and we also have Google Scholar Index journals. Especially, I will recommend this journal to the participants. I'm writing here the address, website. This is the journal. You can visit, and we can publish all the humanities related papers and manuscript here. We can process it here. It's very quick. Up to 2 weeks, your papers can be processed for peer review, and you can get the acceptance. So it's quite easy going journal in transparent manner. So you can go for this journal, or we also have other Google index journals. So no problems. Journal will not be a big problem, and I hope all the accepted papers, abstract, will be published by IIARP. Any other question? Questions from the participants, or questions from me, or question from the session chair? Yeah, I think so far no question, and I will now invite the session chair to have an ending remarks regarding this session, and then we can move forward to take a group photo by opening your cameras with smiley faces. Okay.
Respected professor, just I have one question. The abstract that I have submitted, by this time I have some revision on this abstract. So is it possible to resubmit my abstract again?
Sorry, you mean only your abstract?
Now abstract, but I need some time to submit my full paper.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. You can submit it later after correcting it. No problem.
Okay, thank you. So
yeah.
So only 4 to 5 days or other?
No, it's not. It's not.
I need some more time.
It's
Is
not
it possible to submit the full
or the
paper?
strict time limit. You can do it within
or
10 days.
Is it mandatory to send the paper?
It's not a strict deadline. You can submit it even after 10 days, no problem. Can you hear me? Mr. Farooq?
Yes, I am hearing.
So it's not a very strict deadline. You can submit it even after 10 days after correcting your manuscript.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Any other question regarding publication?
Yes, I have planned to publication. Though I have applied for only the abstract proceeding, but still I am working. I have planned to publish the full paper.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, any other question, or we move forward? Professor Ma, yeah, please.
I guess in your website is already clear, but further when we experience a difficulty or something that we are going to ask to you, don't you mind if we just send you an email in the IIARP email?
Yeah, you can send us an email. That's fine, no problem. I can also share our WhatsApp number. You can add the WhatsApp number if you have any question or problem. You can ask us. This is the WhatsApp number. I'm sharing in the chat box.
Okay. This is the same WhatsApp number that we've already chat, I guess.
I don't know whether you already have this WhatsApp or not. I'm sharing right now. 37963849. Yeah, this is the WhatsApp. And this is our email. You can use this email for contacting us.
Thank you, Dr. Satir.
Yeah, thank you. Any other question or suggestions?
One question, please, if I can, may I?
Yeah.
You mentioned about the peer review, and we can suggest our peer review. What does it mean? So we can offer.
Yeah, actually in F1000 research, you can suggest your own reviewers, up to 5 reviewers, minimum 5 reviewers you need to suggest to the journal. And the reviewers have a specific criteria is there for the reviewer from the journal side. That the reviewer must be PhD, completed PhD, must have a publication in the same area in the recent 3 years. And the 5 reviewers should be from different countries, not just from one university or from your own department or something like that. Like should be neutral. Yeah, so you can suggest in your papers will be sent for review to those reviewers. Just to review. Yeah.
To review. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Satir.
Any other question? Okay. Our session chair, Professor Mike, you can have your remarks and then we can move forward.
Well, thank you on behalf of IIARP. I just say thanks to all of you for presenting here, and it was really knowledgeable. And I really appreciated your knowledge and your explanation about your research about marketing, business, and all these things. So I'm glad to be here next time. So thank you very much. If you have any question, any queries, so you can just ask the conference committee. I will say good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Mike. And yeah, so I think some of the presenters were not able to present. I think all the presenters were able to present, but some of the presenters already sent their video PPTs, and you can go to the YouTube channel. This is the YouTube channel, IIARP. You can give a search in YouTube and you will watch all the PPTs that were not able to present here on Zoom, IIARP. You can search this in the YouTube and you will see the today's presentations that were not presented here in Zoom. Yeah. And wait. Okay. And one thing more I want to share. Just a minute. And yes, I need to mention that all the live presentations were evaluated by our session chair, Professor Michael, and the results and the award winners will be announced and will be sent to all of you through your emails, along with the proceedings and your individual certificates to your email. And you can also check our website for the upcoming conferences and other events such as workshop, research workshops, and other academic events. And I also want to share our Facebook page. that you can like and follow it, and you can reach to the updated information. This I share in the chat box. You can like and follow it for the updated information regarding conferences, publication opportunities, and other events from IIARP side. Yeah, the WhatsApp I already shared, and that's all. If any question, you can add my WhatsApp, and you can contact us through email regarding publication. Yeah, thank you so much. And finally, if you don't mind, you can open your cameras that we can take a group photo. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to take a screenshot. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the end of this session. I think there are no more questions, and I will now end the session. Also, the presentation in this session is recorded on the YouTube channel. You can visit the YouTube channel to watch it later. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.